All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Adult Diploma Program. My name is Ms. Cooper. I work here with my associate, Mr. Moore, and the other woman that you saw in here today was Dr. Berry, our program manager. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to quickly go through everything that we do here in the program. I'll let you ask any questions that you might have. And then hopefully, if you're still interested at the end of our little presentation, you'll come and join us, okay? Cool. All right. So first things first. A question that we get a lot is, what is the Adult Diploma Program? So we are a fairly new program in the state of Ohio. What we do is we have students go through a series of online and physical testing, not physical, but in-person testing. And we also have you take a trade, and all of that together equals your high school diploma. So what you're going to do today is you're going to take a pre-assessment. There's going to be a real version of the pre-assessment you take later on through the program, and you're also going to complete a trade program, and all of that together is going to get you your high school diploma. Before we even get started, we have like a small video from one of our past students. He came through, he had a lot of questions and concerns, but we did get him through, and I'll let him tell that in this little video that we got for you.
This program worked for me because I was able to actually work a job and just do a couple assignments a day. They also help you with your work. If you have any questions, you have tutors here. I mean, they're here to help you because they want to see you succeed. So it's no excuse. Well, the CNC program is great for me because I always had a background in running and operating machines. So I came down and spoke with a counselor, and he was like, well, you got a background in machining. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I can do CNC then, because I always wanted to do it. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is to show my kids that from that when I was younger, got in trouble, been in and out of jail, that a person my age can actually go back to school and still do great things out here, considering where I came from. This program has meant the world to me because I will have a degree once I'm done, and I'm able to go out to the work field and just get a great job. I mean, I'm the most happiest person right now. I got a good education. I'm out in the job field. I got a great resume now. I'm just a happy person right now with this program. It did a lot for me.
So Mr. Edward Davis came through in 2017 when he graduated from our program. Like he said in his video, he was a bit concerned. He had a checkered past. He was kind of worried he wouldn't find a trade that he would like, but we found it something that he liked and that he was good at. And he graduated through this program and was able to move on with his life. He actually very quickly moved out of state when he graduated from this program, so it all worked out for him. Another question we get on a regular is this a real high school diploma? So a lot of our students have come from these fake high schools and fake schools that they paid all this money for, got a diploma from, and then it turned out that the diploma was fake. Or their school went out of business, and then now they could no longer use their diploma anywhere. So up here, what I've got is a couple of sample diplomas from students who have graduated through this program. I'll let you guys pass this one around. On our diplomas, it has the seal of the Ohio Department of Education, and it also has the signed signatures of the Superintendent of Education as well as the President of the Board of Education. We can't fake that because that's fraud, and I'm not going to jail for nobody, okay? So these diplomas are 100% legitimate. You can take them anywhere that you want to go, any school, any job, anywhere. And what that also means is that since your diploma is backed by the state, so even if this program were to no longer exist, your diploma would always be valid because it's backed by the state government instead of the school, okay? And this student in particular, his name is Malik Waliudin. To date, he is our oldest student to complete this program. He dropped out of school to go fight in Vietnam. He raised all his kids, and afterwards he said he wanted to go to college, but he did not yet have his high school diploma. He came through our program, he got his high school diploma, and is currently at Cleveland State working on his bachelor's degree. So it's legitimate. You can do whatever you want to do with it, tear it up, throw it out, hang it up on a wall, do whatever you want to do, go wild. But just to show that it's real. You can do whatever you need to do with it and get that out of the way, all right? All right. So what we're going to do now is kind of go through a checklist of everything that you need to do to get your high school diploma through this program. We'll go through each bit one by one. Please feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. So the first thing is attend orientation. So you get to check that off your list. All right. The next thing that you're going to do, hopefully today, is take your WorkKeys pre-assessment. This pre-assessment does not really determine whether or not you get to stay in the program. We just need to see where you are in your math and in your reading. All right. After your pre-assessment, depending on what you score on it, you may have to do something called CSM. CSM stands for Core Skills Mastery. So if you take your pre-assessment, you score a little low, we want to make sure that your math and reading is where we need it to be. We'll have you complete CSM. After CSM, if you have to do it, you're going to do something called the WorkKeys curriculum. The curriculum is a giant study guide. The WorkKeys curriculum prepares you for the WorkKeys assessment. But we're not just going to throw you into that test. We'll have you do the study guide first, and then you'll go take the assessment. The assessment has 3 parts. All of them were 7 points each, and you just have to score a total of 13. All right? So fully on the test, you can score up to a 21. 13 out of 21 is like a 61%, so that's like a D. All right? So when you do the curriculum, we'll get you ready for the WorkKeys assessment. After that, we'll have you do the career exploration workshop. Like I said earlier, you have to take a trade through this program. But the workshop is just to make sure that the trade that you pick is the one you really want. So it's like a little one-on-one talk session with either myself or with Dr. Barry. We'll just make sure that the trade you're picking is something that you actually want to do. After your workshop, you go into your training course, which is the trade. You pass the certification exam in whatever trade it is you pick, and then you pick up your high school diploma. So it's a pretty straightforward process that we've got going on here, but we'll go into each step in detail. The first bit is going to be your WorkKeys pre-assessment. When you take this assessment, like I said earlier, scoring poorly on this test does not ban you from the program, and not many people score poorly on this test. We really just making sure that you're above 6th grade reading level. If the case happens that you do score below that, we will recommend you to aspire, but you can come back. So it's not like a banishment sentence, but if you just need more help than we can give, we'll have you go to aspire first, but you will be allowed to come back. But not very many people score below that level. When you're taking your assessments, this will be completely untimed, and hopefully you'll take it today, but take as much time as you need on it. We really don't want to rush you. We want you to score as well as you can. The topics that will be on the test, first off, is going to be workplace documents. That's just kind of a fancy way of saying a reading test. It'll be reading paragraphs, pulling important information, things like that. The next step, which gets people a little worried, is applied math. Now, I know everybody's like, oh, I did terrible in math at school. I hated it. This is not the same kind of math. We don't do calculus. We don't do trigonometry. We don't really do algebra, because on the day-to-day, you never use any of that stuff, all right? So this kind of math is really, you know, the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, things like that. There's like a tiny little bit of geometry in there, but it's really like 1 or 2 questions. So don't worry too much about it. And the last bit of our test is graphic literacy. This is just chart and graph reading. How many people have ever worked in retail? And you get to a certain point in retail, it's just charts and graphs, what needs to be stocked, what needs to be taken off the shelves, things like that. And this is really what graphic literacy is. It's diagrams, it's graphs, just things that we think that you'll need in everyday life. As you've noticed, there's no social studies, there's no science, there's no writing portion, because you don't use it. You don't use it, so we tried to boil it down as much as we possible to just the essentials of education. All right. Your tests are completely untimed, but it might take you about an hour. You'll have more time than that should you need it. But if you finish in under an hour, that's fine, but you really do have a limited time on this pre-assessment. All right. After you're done with your pre-assessment, we'll have you take down your scores and we'll let you know what you need to do next. All right. All right. If you take your assessment and you score a little low, we'll have you do core skills mastery. Core skills mastery is not a punishment. All the staff here has completed it, and all of us really like it. But it's just a math and reading skills booster, really. All right, it's competency-based, which means that it will work with what you know. So let's say it puts you in fractions and decimals and you already know your fractions and decimals. It'll take you out and then it'll never bring you back. And it's like that for every subject that Core Skills Mastery goes into. It's not easy, but it can be done. Most of the students take about 60 hours, and I really want to say most students take about 50 hours to complete just from seeing them work on a day-to-day basis. It's completely untimed as well. It's a self-paced online program. What that means is that you can take as long as you want to complete Core Skills Mastery. But on average, it does take about 50 to 60 hours. So that being said, that it is self-paced, we have had some students in Core Skills Mastery since 2015. It doesn't take that long. But we are 100% believers in students taking control of their own education. We know work comes up, life comes up, kids come up, so you might not be super focused on your online studies, and we understand. So at no point will we ever kick you out of this program for inactivity. So that's why we have it set up the way that we do. So this self-paced, we mean it, 100%. But that doesn't work well for everybody, which is why we also have our one and done on-ground classes. Not everybody likes working online. Not everybody likes working from home. So if that's the case for you, we actually have tutoring here 5 days a week. You can come in for our morning session, afternoon or evening sessions. Actually, in your folders, there's a copy of our in-person schedule. So if you'd like to, you could definitely come in and do your work here if that works better for you. When you're in our tutoring lab, most people just come to work, but there are tutors here. Most of the time, we can get you that one-on-one tutoring time should you need it. And if not, you can just come here to use a computer. Some people don't like working at home just because they don't get any work done at home. So if that's the case, you could always come here. It's pretty quiet in here most of the time. You can come here, get some work done, and then leave whenever you need to. So we've got that set up for you as well. Now, our must commit 10 hours a week, we're a little flexible on that. If you need something from us, and we'll go into this later, if you need a letter or anything like that, you need a letter or a letter for daycare, a letter for your job, we don't mind doing those things. But the only thing we ask in return is you doing work, which is why we have the 10 hours a week set up. Your 10 hours a week have to be done in person and not online. But if that's the case, if you need that, you've got that available. And then our tutoring. You don't have to come to the tutoring lab and then not say anything. We get a lot of people who come and then just sit and struggle when the tutor is sitting 20 feet away. If you want to come to the tutoring lab, if you need help, please ask. But we get a lot of people who just come and sit down and just don't say anything and struggle the whole time. And you don't have to do that. I love helping the people. Mr. Moore loves helping the people. That's what we get paid to do. And we really want to make sure that you guys are understanding this material and doing as well as you can. Y'all are a little quiet. Does anybody have any questions? Nothing? So far, so good. That's what I like to hear. Cool. All right. If you have to do Core Skills Mastery, you'll do that. If not, you'll go straight into ACT Work Keys. Your Work Keys test is required by the Ohio Department of Education. You could think of this part as half of your diploma completed. So by the time you get up to the Work Keys assessment and pass it, that's like half the diploma right there, all right? There's two ways you can take the Work Keys assessment. When you're ready for the real test, when you're ready for the Work Keys assessment, the first way is that you can complete all of your study guide. You must complete the practice assignments. If you complete all of your study guide, we will pay for you to take the test. The other way is that if you really, really don't want to do the study guide, is that you can pay for the test. It's about $50 for all 3 sections, and a retake is $15 or $16 a piece. But we would rather you just do the study guide so that way you pass first try, all right? When you're getting the study guide, this is also another thing that can be done online or in person here in the lab. When you're doing your study guide, we will check it. We want you to pass your study guide with a 75 to 80% average before we let you go take the test. But once you've done that, we have no problem paying for you to take that test. And the testing center is actually here on campus. It's in our MTC building right in the back. So you'd be able to take it at this location. We'll approve your registration. We're going to check your study guide before you even go over there to take the test. We'll check it, make sure that you're doing well. just because we don't want to set anybody up for failure. Some people complete the entire study guide and then don't do very well on it, so we'll ask them to do it again. We just want to make sure that you're doing your best. We don't want you to go and take the test, but you have no idea or understand anything that's on it. We'll check your study guide before we do the registration. And then on your test, like I said earlier, you got to score at least a 13 and hit the minimum for whatever trade you're interested in. So you've got to get a 13 total, and like one of our trades is 911 dispatch. 911, you have to have a 4 in math, a 4 in workplace, and a 4 in graphic literacy. Altogether, that's only 12 points. So you'd have to go back and take one of those tests again to hit the minimum of 13 while also maintaining the minimum of whatever trade you're interested in. That make sense? Yes, no? Cool, okay. So when you're in there, definitely be thinking about what trades you're interested in so that way you have the minimums in your mind while also knowing that you have to score that 13 total, all right? After you go take the test, it takes 24 to 48 hours for your WorkKeys account to update. So they'll give you the scores on paper as soon as you're done taking the test, but we need the digital score. And your digital score takes about 1 to 2 days for it to pop up in the system. So if you go past your test that first day, don't come to us straight away because there's nothing that we can do until that score pops up into the digital system, all right? And I will just say that the biggest difference between the real test and the practice test is that the real test is timed. You'll have 1 hour per section, but there's only about 30, 35 questions in each section. So hopefully you would have pretty ample time on this real test to get your scores up. Yeah, not many people run out of time on this test, all right? Any questions about the testing phase? Oh, you guys are real good, shoot. All right. So this is more about stuff that we can do for you, your enrollment verification. This is where those 10 hours a week kind of comes in. We will try to help you in any way that we can. We will do anything and everything to make sure that you graduate from this program. And one of those things is getting you an RTA U-Pass. We know transportation can be difficult. If you are doing your 10 hours a week, you will be eligible for the RTA U-Pass, which is like an unlimited bus pass that you can use for like 3 to 4 months. Take the bus, you can take the train, you can do whatever with it. So if that's something that you need, you'll become eligible for that if you're coming into class. Something else we would do for you is we will write you a letter. We will write letters for POs, case managers, whoever it is that you need a letter for. When it comes to letters, what we ask is that you fill out an enrollment verification form. We want the name and number, email address of whoever you're sending our letter to. Just because we have some people who come in, get the letter, and then disappear. We actually just had a case the other day. A parole officer called for 3 of her people, and we hadn't seen them in months. And we hate doing that, but we will snitch. We have no problem doing that, okay? But not to get it confused, we will not call them and say, hey, so-and-so hasn't been in class. But if they call us and they ask us where so-and-so is, we will tell them the truth. That's it. But we have no problem doing that. We know people need a little hand every now and again. We have no problem helping somebody out. But you just gotta keep coming in. You gotta be doing work while you're in class. That's all that we ask for. So you'll fill out your enrollment verification request form if you need that. And then what we have is that after you've completed that first week of class, then we will give you the letter, or then we'll give you the bus pass. But also bear in mind, this is some responsibility on your part. If you get your letter or bus pass or whatever it is that you need and you stop coming, you will no longer be eligible for one. So if you come back the next semester and say, oh, I need a letter or a bus pass for whatever, we do look through all of our attendance sheets, and if you've only been here 3 days out of the month, then we're not gonna give you another one. Again, not a punishment, but it's just some responsibility on you all's part as well as ours, all right? Any questions about that? No? Cool. All right, so this is my favorite part of orientation. The career training program. So the trade, I would say, is the most fun part about this entire program, because if I was eligible for this program, I would take it just for this trade. First thing that we would do is create your SAFE account. Your SAFE account keeps track of your scholarship dollars. As you know, this program is free. It is paid for by the state. So this SAFE account just keeps a track all of your scholarship dollars that go towards paying for your trade. So it'll make you one of those first. You'll have the career exploration workshop with either myself or Dr. Berry. And it really is just to make sure that the trade you want is the one that you really want, because once we put you in the trade, we can't take you back out. So we'll have that one-on-one talk just to be sure. And then you'll be able to select a trade. So what we have up here is STNA, ServSafe Level 1 and 2, Microsoft Administrative Professional, 911 and EMS Dispatch, Certified Logistics Technician, Welding, Certified Production Technician, CDL Class A or B, Private Security Academy, and Certified Forklift Technician. So I just want you guys to look at those for just a second. And then if you have a question on one, what it is, where it is.
What's the ServSafe?
So what is ServSafe? ServSafe is a food management and food safety trade. So it's wash your hands before serving food, don't store pork with fish kind of thing. If you're interested in working in a restaurant in a management position, this would be a great way to go as ServSafe.
Microsoft administration.
Microsoft Administrative Professional. What that is if you're interested in data entry, secretary, concierge work. What it gets you certified in is Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook. Also, if you're looking for an entryway into IT, Microsoft is a good way to go. It gets you familiar with a computer if you want to move forward in that kind of direction. So this isn't forklift operator. Forklift technician, you'd be like a forklift mechanic. You'd be fixing the forklifts. Certified production technician is to fix machines. Yeah, so these are the only ones that we have right now, but we do constantly fight to get more trades. But I will say that the state is very stingy, which is ridiculous. So we usually submit anywhere from 40 to 50 trades every year, and they always get back with us with the ones we've selected. As of right now, these are the only trades that we offer. No other questions on trades? Really? I'm gonna stick everybody in STNA and see how that pans out. I know everybody wants to do that, right? You look real upset. Ask me a question, any question, really. Pays the most? Which trade pays the most? Welding. Welding, without a doubt. When you come in at an entry-level welding, which is what we give you, you start out at around $22 an hour. If you decide to continue your education in welding, let's say you get your submerged welding certificate, which means you got to put on the wetsuit, go underwater and weld, you start out around $30, $35 an hour, depending on how many years of experience you have. And that is the one I would take if I was eligible, because $30 an hour, I'd do some things for $30 an hour.
What job field is in demand right now?
All of these. So we only offer things that are in demand in this area and in surrounding areas.
What about the CDL class?
CDL isn't hard if you can drive well, I'll say that. CDL Class A classifies you to drive anything, so from semi-trucks all the way down. CDL Class B is more buses and things like that, and anything smaller than that.
Okay, like box trucks.
Box trucks, for sure. Yep.
What's the requirements for that to your license?
So the requirements for CDL regarding your license, you got to have all your tickets paid off. That's the big one. No DUIs or anything like that. I believe you can't have too many accidents on your record. Just classic stuff, because they don't want you out here driving crazy. And another big thing for CDL is that in the state of Ohio, you are not allowed to be a diabetic and a CDL driver. It's kind of awkward little quirky rule, but if you are a diabetic, you are not allowed to do CDL. Any more questions?
Certified logistics technician?
Certified logistics. If you're interested in like going into more business kind of path, logistics would be good for you. Amazon hires a lot of logistics technicians, and it's really moving products. So like, oh, somebody wants something shipped from Oklahoma to New York. They'll get it on this freighter train, get it there by such and such a date, get it unloaded and sent to these manufacturers. So that's kind of like what logistics is. It's really just moving products from different places. Really also a good paying job. It comes in around, I believe, $15, $16 an hour.
You're saying welding is the way to go.
I would say, well, if you're looking for money, welding would definitely be the best one.
Which trade is the hardest?
Which trade is the hardest? Welding. Welding is the hardest. It's the longest, but it also pays the most. So it would pay off in the end, I would think.
Dispatch is the easiest.
Dispatch, it can be difficult. 911 dispatch, you will get trained in emergency dispatch, so picking up on 911 calls and things like that. But your dispatch certification, you don't have to use at a precinct. You can be a dispatcher for RTA, you can be a dispatcher at Amazon, you can be a dispatcher really anywhere. So I would say that the level of difficulty of the job really depends on where you would want to work afterwards.
These trades, do you have to go through a background check and drug screening?
Some of them you do, some of them you don't. It depends on which one you pick.
STNA, you gotta do a background check.
For STNA, you do have to do a background check. It's pretty intensive, extensive. We just had somebody switch out just because she wasn't sure. She didn't want to spend all her scholarship money on a trade that she didn't want to take. But STNA actually has a list of charges that you are not allowed to have if you're interested in taking it.
I just do a background check right then.
Their background check is kind of weird. It takes a while for it to go through because usually they send out the background checks. Sometimes it takes like 3 to 4 weeks for them to come back. So you wouldn't know probably until too late whether or not something would affect your chances of being in the class.
For the STNA, would you give us a list of what we would?
Oh yeah, if you sign up for a trade, specifically for STNA, and you want to know if something that you have is on that list of can't haves, we'll let you know as soon as we can what you can and can't have on your background.
When is as soon as you can?
So actually, as soon as we can is pretty much immediately. We have a pretty good connection with the STNA program, so we could probably just ask them to email one over of a list of charges that you're not allowed to have.
Does that apply for all of the trades?
Not all of the trades. Some of them can be kind of weird with their lists. And the reason that is because a lot of times there are a lot of charges that you can have and get into the trade, but that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to get into that job field, which is why they're kind of iffy on what charges you are and aren't allowed to have. Because sometimes they'll do a background check for class and they'll let you in the class, but if you were trying to get a job in that field and they do a background check, then you wouldn't be eligible for the job. So it just really depends on for those other trades.
So is it any jobs up there like felons can't work at?
So any jobs felons can't do, easily private security academy, depending on the degree of the felony, maybe STNA, let's see, and also depending on what it is, 911 dispatch, just because those are the health and security fields. So they're a bit more strict on who they allow in the class.
Which one you wouldn't pick?
Which one wouldn't I pick? Whew, probably CDL. I'm a terrible driver. I don't have a car now because I already know I'm gonna get in an accident. But that's just me. And then I would just hate to be on the road all the time. I don't like sitting down for that long. It's too much. It's too much. All right.
Besides that one.
Besides that one, what wouldn't I pick? Probably Microsoft Administrative Professional, just because, again, I'd have to sit down all day, and I do that now. So I definitely want something a bit more active personally. But that's just me, so.
How much do a 911 dispatch make?
Pretty good. I want to say you come in around 16, 17, but it also depends on where you work. No more questions on trades? All right.
The least amount of work with the most money.
Least amount of work with the most money. You asking all the right questions. Shoot. I would probably say serve safe, honestly. Food management is not super difficult. And I believe in the state of Ohio, there has to be at least one serve safe certified person in every kitchen. Especially in Cleveland, we have a ton of restaurants here. So you're really making sure that people are washing their hands, making sure that people aren't like picking up food off the ground and serving it to people. And I would say in a nutshell, that's mostly what it is. And if you get lucky and get picked up at a high-end restaurant, that could be good money for you right there.
So that's all that person does, just go around tell people to wash their hands and things of that nature?
Essentially, yeah.
Cook or nothing?
I believe you don't have to because you're not a chef, you're a food manager. Yeah, that's a job. But you know, they have to have it in there as a job because there are a lot of people who would do some gross stuff to your food if they weren't watching. So you really do make sure that the people who eat in that restaurant are getting good, clean food, you know, not something that they pulled out the freezer that's been in there for 6 months. And that's essentially what you do.
So private security is like working like for a club or something like that? Or?
I mean, you could be a bouncer if you wanted to with private security. But what private security is you're like a step down from a police officer almost. You can choose to take PSA armed or unarmed. I would take the armed course just because it sounds like fun. But in Private Security Academy, you're going to be doing a lot of chokeholds, a lot of throws, you know. You know. We got one of the private security guys who comes in here every couple of weeks just to tell us the updates. He's always just bone tired every time, and he says he's doing throws, he's knocking people out, doing stuff like that. But private security is also something that pays very, very well. I was a security officer for some time, untrained, and I made $15 an hour. But the only bad part was I had to work 12-hour shifts. But the good part is that it's really easy to make $1,000 in 1 week if that's the case. So if you do have the certification under your belt, I was getting paid 15, you probably come in around 20, or even higher if you take the armed course. So.
How long is that welding?
The welding is a 4-month class, but usually it's just Saturdays and Sundays, which is why it takes so long. So 2 days a week, you'll be here from like 8 to 5, but not too bad. Mm-hmm.
So you said that's a 4-month.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the longest?
Yes, welding is our longest trade at 4 months. Everything else, the shortest trade we have is serve safe. It's like 4 weeks, 3.5, 4 weeks for serve safe.
What do you think about a woman doing welding?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So our women in welding, we've had several women take the welding course. They thought they were going to hate it. But they loved it so much they enrolled in Tri-C to get their robotic welding done. So it's not really a gender thing when it comes to welding. Women are actually naturally better welders. I'm sorry if I offend anyone, but it's true. Women tend to have better hand-eye coordination, which is why they do so well in the class. So the women welders we've had go through, they liked it a lot, and we've had a couple decide that they would continue their education in the welding. Any more questions?
How long is the forklift tech for that?
So the forklift tech, how long it is, I can't actually say. This is a brand new class that we actually just got. We haven't run it yet. But from what I've heard, it's like a 6-week class, 6 or 7 weeks. So again, not really long.
How long is the STNA?
STNA, the length of STNA depends on which class you pick, because they have a 5-week course, they have a 9-week course, and I believe they also have a 12 or a 14-week course. But the lengths depend on how long you're here every day. The 5-week course is only 5 weeks because you're here Monday through Friday from like 8:30 to 5. And the other courses, you might be here 3 or 4 days a week, only maybe 3 or 4 hours a day, which is why they tend to take longer. So it depends on which one you pick, really.
You pick more than one course?
So you cannot pick more than one trade while you're in this program, simply because these trades are not cheap. The state pays for all of these, and they are not very keen on coughing up $4,000 to $6,000 every time somebody wants to take a class. So through this program, you can only take one trade. But after you get your diploma, you can always enroll in Tri-C and take another one if you want to.
What if you pick a trade you don't like it, you still can't?
Yeah. If you pick a trade and you don't like it, you cannot switch, which is why we have the workshop, that one-on-one session, just because that money is spent almost as soon as we enroll you in class, which is why we always double check to make sure that the trade that you want is what you really want to do. So we usually have a little bit of leeway. Like if you just enrolled in it and you call us back a week later and say you want to switch, a lot of times we can kind of pull that out and push you into another trade. But again, it is not very likely, which is why we try to have people pick one that they can take first try.
Y'all got a program to help people get the job after y'all take it?
So do we do job placement? We actually don't do job placement. But the good thing about this is that your program instructors, like the welding instructor, he's been a welder for the past 40 years. There's nobody he does not know in the welding community. And all of our best students, they have no problem hooking them up with a job or a company that they used to work at or work for, and helping them get a job afterwards. Any more questions?
Now, can you use this diploma to, let's say if you go for one of those, can you use this diploma to go into something else completely?
Yeah, so if you get your diploma through this program, you do not have to stay in these career fields. You can get your diploma and do welding and then go on to go to, like, I don't know, interior design school. But just to get our diploma, you have to do one of these trades, but you don't have to stay in the trade field forever. Any more questions? All right. All right, well, you don't have to pick your trade right now. I just wanted you to look right now, ask some questions. When you're doing your trade, you have to complete the training program course, which means you have to finish the entire class and take the certification exam at the end. I don't know why, but we had some people take the class and just completely refuse the certification exam. But you're not certified in anything. You're just somebody who took a class. So you got to do both. You got to finish the course and take that certification exam at the end of the course. All right. So this is the part of orientation that's not so fun, or if you haven't been having a good time, just the rest of the orientation. So we will give you a one-time scholarship for your career training. That's once in a lifetime. So what that means is that if you do not pass your career training course or you drop out of the career training course, you will no longer be eligible for your high school diploma anywhere in the state of Ohio. Your only other option will be GED. Now, yeah, I'll go into that. Like I said earlier, none of this cost comes out of your pocket. When you come to the state of Ohio, the state will fund your education all the way up into a high school diploma. If you decide to go this route and get into your trade program and then you disappear or you drop out, the state will no longer be eligible, well, I'll say this, the state will no longer be willing to fund your education. At that point, your only other option would be the GED program. But that doesn't happen very often. What happens is that when you make that SAFE account, it pulls all of your educational information and pops it into there. So let's say you fail this program, you try to go to a different adult diploma program, we all use the SAFE account, so they'll be able to pull that information no matter where you go in the state, okay? The reasons that you might be pulled from your career training program, our big one is attendance. We get people who get enrolled into the career training program and then never show up, or they show up 2 out of the 5 days that they're supposed to be there and they end up failing. Another reason is disrespect to faculty and classmates. We had classmates trying to fight each other and do all this other stuff. So we were doing, surprise visits, we were doing class sit-ins, and I'm just gonna say, Everybody's too old for that. And if we have to do that, we'll just pull you, and that'll be it. That'll be it. After that, it's cheating. We have people going to class every day and then cheating on every single assignment. So if it comes to that, again, we'll just pull you from class. And this is like worst case scenario. We very rarely had to do this. And then we really don't want people to be disqualified from earning their high school diploma in the entire state. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. But you come to school to do one thing, and that's to learn. All right, so that's what you should be doing while you're here. Get your high school diploma. I know this has been like a weight that you're trying to get off your shoulders. You got other things to do. You have bigger and better things to do. And I'd love to see all of you do them. But these are some of the reasons that you might fail this program, and really the only reasons you might fail this program. And we don't want that to happen to anybody. All right, any questions on that?
Not on that. You got a paper with the trays on there?
Actually, yes, I do. So in your folders is a copy of the presentation that we're going over. So if you ever want to look at it again or have some more questions, there's a packet in there that has everything that we went over today, and you can look over all of that at your own leisure. All right. So your career training plan. This is something that we ask students to do on their own. This will happen closer to when it's time to start your trade. So these are just a list of things that your instructor may not care about if you're late to class or you're missing class. Like I said, the biggest reason a lot of people don't graduate this program is attendance. So you and your instructor might be super cool, but these are a list of reasons that they may mark you absent. Lack of childcare. We know you love your children. You know you want them to be safe and all that, but you cannot miss school because you didn't have a babysitter. And then we try to combat that. We will write you a letter for a daycare saying that you're in school, all right? Not having a ride. We will give you the RTA U-Pass. It's unlimited rides. I tell people even if you don't need it, take it anyway. You never know. Your car might break down or you might get stranded somewhere. And then work. We'll write you a letter to work. I have called people's jobs and said, so-and-so cannot come to work today because he's in school today. So we have no problem doing those kinds of things for you, just to make sure that you don't miss class. We have an 81% graduation rate right now. 81%. And the biggest reason that people don't do well is because they don't show up. And like I said, we would do anything and everything that we can to make sure that you get to class on time, you finish your trade, and that you graduate. All right? All right. High school diploma awarded. Ba-bam. It's like my favorite part. All right. So we leave this one blank. You can just visualize your name on there. All right. Our program, I know it was a lot of information that you guys took in today, but it's not that hard. You got to take your pre-assessment. You take your real assessment. You take your trade. You get your high school diploma. All right. We try to make it as easy as we can. We try to make it as quick as we can. On average, our students finish this program in about 6 months. So far, the fastest person we've had graduated, she did it in 2.5. She picked our shortest trade. She did all her online work really, really quick. And she was in and out. She actually picked CDLB. It's also a 4 or 5 week class.
What is that?
CDLB.
Oh.
Yeah, so that one is also pretty short trade, and she was in and out of here. And and it's crazy because she doesn't even like driving. She just took it because it was short. And she graduated and she's gone. So,
She a bus driver now or something?
actually, she is not a bus driver. She hates driving buses. Like I said, she didn't even like CDL. She just took it because it was short and graduated, and now she's out doing bigger and better things. And we want this to be everybody. We want you to hopefully find something you like to do through this program so that way you all can go out and do bigger and better things. Because this is a very thin sheet of paper, but it's very important thin sheet of paper that ends up keeping people from doing the things that they want to do. All right? Any questions about how the program works, what you got to do, why you got to do it? Nothing? All right.
You said this the class schedule, right?
Yes, that paper, that open lab schedule is when we're open for tutoring. If you need it, feel free to come by. If not, you don't have to. Yes.
You gotta stick to that schedule, or we can just
So the only time you really need to stick to our open lab schedule is if you need something. So we do have several sessions on there. We have a morning session, which is 9 to 12. We have our afternoon sessions, which are usually 1 to 4. And then our evening sessions, which are 6 to 9. The only time you need to stick to that schedule, you'd have to pick one session that you could make it to, and you'd have to attend all week. And that's only if you needed a bus pass or the verification letter or anything like that. If you don't need anything like that from us, feel free to come whenever you like. Oh, yeah, go ahead. All right. So the last thing on here is email. We will never, ever call you. We'll only call you if you called us and we're returning a call. If you're in here earlier this morning, Dr. Barry even said we get hundreds of calls a day. So we usually just email you if there's anything that we need you to know. And hopefully you'll email us. It's faster to reach any of the staff via email. I get all my work emails sent to my phone. I'll email people in the middle of the night should the need arise, all right? But that also means we're gonna email you a lot of stuff. So your email address should be valid, so it should be working. You should know the password to your email address. Our biggest thing with emails regarding students is that they're not work appropriate. I don't want to email missthickbetty69@gmail.com. This is a school, this is a place of business. So hopefully your email address is just like your first and last name and maybe the month you were born or something like that. That's our biggest thing. And then if your email address doesn't have your name in it, put the name somewhere in the message, because I don't know who Johnny Donnie is at Gmail. I need you to put, my name is so-and-so, and I need whatever it is that you need. Just because we want to be able to get back with you in a timely manner and answer any questions that you might have, all right? Other than that, please don't change your email address. We do send you all of our notifications via email. If we're ever closed for a holiday, we had a snow day a couple weeks ago, so we emailed that out to everybody. Even when it comes time for graduation time, we'll email you to let you know anything about graduation, which I'm actually really disappointed in. Nobody asked if we have a graduation. Nobody. Do we? Yes, we do. So up there is actually the cap and gown you would wear should you be interested in walking the stage with us. So we get that for everybody. We have a whole ceremony. There's catering and all the kinds of fun stuff. But should you be interested in graduation, you will be allowed to walk. You don't have to go if you don't want to, but I hope that you do want to go, because I will be there. I mean, come on. But should you be interested in that, we do have that every June. The one this June is on June 13th. We only have one a year just because we don't have a lot of students. So let's say you finish your diploma, get your diploma after June, you'll be able to walk in next June's orientation. But we do have those once a year. But even that, we'll email all the details to you. So make sure that your email address is one that you check on a regular basis and that you do use.
I know summer is coming, so what about when class, like, do we still come to?
Yeah, so during the summer, we do not get summer break, so we're open all summer. The only time we aren't open is on national holidays and then the weekends. All right. So, any questions about anything that we went over today? All right. Oh.
About like the class schedule, like is it certain days that we're supposed to come?
Again, no, not really. There's not certain days that you have to come to class unless you need a verification letter or anything like that. If you don't need any of those things, you can come in at any day that works best for you.